I'm at 296 Tauber Drive in Dayton, Ohio. We're doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, anything concerning to the buyer. The access location is a front cast iron clean out right underneath the edge of the bush to the right of the front door. Now it's probably about 3 to 4 foot off the front little walk that goes through, and it's towards the front of the flower bed, right underneath the edge of the bush. But at any rate, the only restriction to these is that when they put these clean outs in, they only go one direction. They have they call a sweep, or a bend in the pipe that basically forces the camera to only be able to go out towards the main, and so there's no access to be able to inspect the pipe under the floor in the house unless you pull a toilet or something like that to be able to get access to it. So we are limited. Cast iron also doesn't really have, it does rust, but it has, they say, roughly a lifespan of about 75 years because of that rust, but we're still kind of finding that out. Most cases it's still in good shape and no real issues. Now the thing that I always like to mention with the cast iron is that it does rust, so therefore it is really rough on the inside, and you'll see a little bit of that because there should be a little bit of cast iron as we get down in here. You'll kind of see how it'll, kind of hard to see, but you'll see how the line kind of curves. If you see that, yeah, see how that little turn and edge in the pipe that doesn't allow you to go straight down. It's actually forcing my camera to go the other way. And so, well, actually, this is what it does a lot, is basically kind of force the camera over on itself. And we have roots almost immediately when we get into the clay, but I'm going to try to see if I can show you just that little bit of cast iron there. There it is. It's kind of hard to see though, but it does rust on the inside, and so what happens is that rust can catch things like wet wipes and paper towels, things that really you shouldn't be flushing down the toilet anyway. But I always like to note for people that not to use wet wipes, especially it's even more important with cast iron, just because it's a little more prevalent to have those kind of soft clogs in cast iron because of how rough the inside of the pipe is. So if something catches, things can back up behind it. Now if it's toilet paper, most of the time it gets wet and it disintegrates. That's what it's designed to do. With wet wipes, they don't do that. You can run both underneath water and see the difference between toilet paper and those wet wipes. But if you're going to use them, just throw them in the trash. They're, because they may cause you problems, and so it's not anything wrong with the pipe, it's just the nature of the material. And so in this case, we are going to try to run some water. The homeowner is here, so I'm going to see if they'll run some water in the rearmost bathroom or the kitchen and let it kind of come through here, and then we're going to take a look. And we're going to have to do that so that I can rinse the camera lens off. As you can see, it's been dark. It's been pretty much black right here because of the stuff that got on the camera when I tried to put it into the clean out. So I'm going to pause and try to get that water running. Okay, we've got some water running there in the house, so we were able to rinse the camera lens off. And so again, we'll see if I can kind of show a little bit of that cast iron, but to try to rinse the camera off again. There we go. But as I talked about, it does go straight into clay. Right when you get past the clean out, it turns over to clay, which is a normal exterior material. Looks like I'm pushing some roots that have come loose So that's good. Try to flush those out of the line. But again, like I mentioned, it's very common to find some root intrusion. So as we go, it won't be too surprising to find a little more. There you go. So it's somewhat heavy. It's not. It's probably about 80% of the area of the pipe. See, it's kind of loose, but still flopping down into the flow line. So, we'll continue. We may end up having to kind of poke a little hole in some of these roots. They are pretty heavy here, so we'll go all the way out to the main, and then we'll shut the water off, and I'll pull back, and that way, if there's any areas that we couldn't see very clearly, because it looks like the water's getting through. It looked like it was all within that, about a 10 to 15 foot length of pipe there. Most of this is looking really good. Just a little bit more there.
And the neighbors have a whole lot of tree roots.
So as we go, you can see there's a bunch of spider webs in there, but nothing crazy, and we've made it all the way to the main. And everything looked good structurally. There was about 10 to 15 feet there with some heavy roots where, you know, that will have to be cleaned.
Yeah,
and future maintenance will be required. The main thing is that with the roots, obviously they'll continue to come back as long as the tree's here. So if they cleaning it, you know, every 5 years or so, if it's cleaned well, you'll get some time out of it. But there's also a product called Root X that you can put down about once a year as some preventative maintenance to try to keep those roots at bay and keep them from growing thick into the line and causing any slowdown in the line. But basically, I would suggest an initial cleaning, and then about a yearly treatment of Root X if you want to do some preventative maintenance. If not, you could check it again. Maybe have a reinspection done in about 5 years, and check out kind of what you're looking at, so that they can, you know, you can see how fast the roots are growing and see if you need to alter that maintenance schedule. But I'm going to pause the video here, and then we're going to turn the water off so that we can get a clear, maybe stop the water from building up on the way out, and so we can see in a couple of those spots, maybe we can see the roots a little clearer. So, okay. All right, we stopped the water, and so we're going to start pulling back here, and you'll be able to see the line, and we'll kind of take note of the footage. So these are all spider webs up there now, but structurally the line looks good. It looks like it's all in one piece. No major structural issues or breaks or anything. It's just those connections, and you see right here at 53, this is very minor, a little bit of root intrusion there, but you can see they start to get thick. They're growing right down the bottom of the pipe there, and then they're getting in right here at this joint, and there's about 50 feet. But what usually happens is these lines were put in, they have packing around the joints, and then over the years that packing shrinks and allows the tree roots in. They're usually little tiny finger roots, and as long as you maintain them, they don't cause a whole lot of damage to the pipe unless you let them go for a real long time. There was only 1 or 2 joints that I saw that were real that were to the point where they, may cause a backup in the future. And I believe this is scheduled to be cleaned anyway, so that would be good. But you can see here where it's where it gets down in the flow line and it's starting to kind of fill in the line, and that way that's when it starts catching stuff and causing backups. So I mean, that's probably the worst one there at about 24 feet. But again, the line itself is holding shape, and so a little bit of maintenance should be good. And if you decide to do the chemical treatments yearly, you may be able to get away with a little longer. But I would also recommend having a reinspection in a few years, and just kind of, try to, that way you can tell how fast the roots are growing, and adjust the maintenance schedule accordingly. But yeah, it looked like the worst parts are about 10 foot, probably from these bushes, and then which is right inside the clean out. It's only a foot from the clean out, and then about 24 feet. Those are the heaviest areas. But there was also used to be an oak in the front yard that was still somewhat recently taken down, and so just a few years ago, and so it could be some of that contributing to this. They say the roots will grow for anywhere from 5 to 10 years after a tree's gone, so it could be some of those roots are from that from the tree that has been removed. But again, that would all tie back into having a reinspection in a few years and just seeing what the shape of the line is once it's cleaned thoroughly. And then they'll probably, when they clean it, they should also inspect it after they clean it. They should put a camera through there just to check to see how well it's cleaned and how well it's been opened up. But again, overall, the line is good structurally, just needs a little bit of maintenance, and should be good. Now they will, I was unable to inspect the interior line, as I mentioned before, due to lack of access, but they will run all the fixtures to make sure that they are running open, and just, as I mentioned before, make sure that you're not flushing anything down through your lines that you're not supposed to, and your sewer line will stay open and flowing if that's the case. But at any rate, we're going to end the inspection here for 296 Tauber Drive in Dayton, Ohio.